Socrates, Mozart, Kai Cenat. Every generation has their greats, but one thing that every great has in common is that they worked hard to reach the history books. And up until recently, trying hard to reach the best version of yourself has been the normal. However, recently there has been a culture shift to not trying anymore. And this culture shift of trying less has made a lot of people in Gen Z become nonchalant in order to look cool. And if you're just naturally nonchalant, that's who you are. And most of the things I say in this video will not apply to you. Well, at least in a mean way. However, if you fake being nonchalant, what are you doing, right? And there's many ways that you can tell that someone's a fake nonchalant, with the first one being that they are actively chalant about being nonchalant. And what I mean by this is that they are looking for attention for being nonchalant, and they want people to know that they're nonchalant. However, an actual nonchalant person wouldn't care if anybody knows that they are nonchalant, and they wouldn't even call themselves nonchalant because they just wouldn't care, right? It's on the same line as like a humble person isn't gonna call themselves humble, because that in itself would be egotistical, right? And another way you might see this online is people saying something like, I'm leaving the internet, or don't hit me up. Like, if the person actually wanted to leave the internet, they would just fucking ghost their community. And also, if the person actually didn't want you to hit them up, they wouldn't say anything, right? However, these people are actively looking for attention. And a second way that you can tell that someone's a fake nonchalant is that they care way too much about how their aura is perceived by other people. And I know using the word aura sounds stupid, however, there are a lot of people who actually use this term and view it as an actual like trait of theirs. And you are a human, so you should care a little bit about your hygiene, the way you look, the way you dress, because if you don't care about that stuff at all, we have a word for that, and that's like a Reddit Discord mod, and nobody's looking at that as being nonchalant or anything good at that fact. However, a lot of fake nonchalant people will like trip up the stairs, right? And then they're in their head for like a week about that, being scared about how their aura has gone down in the eyes of anyone who may have seen them. However, a real nonchalant person would trip on the stairs and be like, oh fuck, and then go on with their day and wouldn't even remember it a week down the line, right? Like, you shouldn't care about all these silly little things, and if you get in your head way too much about it, it's just gonna make your life way more stressful. And another way that you can tell that someone's fake nonchalant is that they're on some sort of side quest or going out of their way to learn how to become nonchalant. And you've probably seen some videos like this on your YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok feed, and if you look at the comments, most people don't take it seriously. However, if you actually look through it, there are some people who will genuinely look up to these nonchalant life advice guides, and if you are one of those people who will take notes on a how to be nonchalant video, you're a fucking loser, man. Do literally anything else, watch any other form of content, and your life will improve. I'm telling you, right? And a real life example of this for me is a few years back, probably like 3, a good friend of mine got into red pill content, and actually it improved his life a decent amount in certain ways, so it inspired me to look at some of the content. And one of the biggest creators I probably ended up watching was a dude named Hamza. There's a chance you could have heard of him before, and he actually had some good videos like morning routines or workout advice. That shit actually helped me. However, it would go from some helpful advice like that to how to stay mysterious to make her obsess over you. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why would you want to watch that? If you are watching that video or anything like it, you are lost. You have way more important things to be doing other than that video. You know what would actually help you? To go the fuck outside and talk to some people. That will help you talk to people rather than watching a YouTube video on how to talk to people. Let's be real. And a reason that a lot of people want to be nonchalant is that they see a lot of inherent benefits of being nonchalant. However, I only really see 2 of them, with the first one being that there's a lot of people who kind of glaze being nonchalant, so maybe you'll get some brownie points with them, like good job, I guess. And the second one can't even be faked because it's just you're going to be like less anxious and less stressed. However, if you have those benefits, you are actually nonchalant, so you're not even faking anything. So in reality, there's not even a point of faking it. And now that's where the benefits end. However, the cons are much worse, with the first one being that it's going to be much harder to actually meet people. And think about it, in your life, the coolest, most fun people to be around are the most outgoing chalant people ever. However, if you're not like that and you want a lot of friends, however, you're faking being nonchalant, you're just going to be absolutely miserable. And to build off that, a lot of people think you pull if you're nonchalant, and that's actually a reason why some people want to be nonchalant. However, that's a straight lie, and whoever told you that was either delusional or straight up lying to you, because a lot of people look up to someone like Duke Dennis, for example, and Duke Dennis can be nonchalant and pull because he's fucking Duke Dennis. Like, he's rich, he's famous, he's good looking, right? However, most people are not fucking Duke Dennis. Most of the people faking being nonchalant to pull either are chopped, they're not rich, and they ain't famous. So you got none of it going for you. So why the fuck would you think people are just going to go to you when instead of looking mysterious, you looking like a school threat? And the third reason why being nonchalant's not a good thing is that it hinders your future. And what I mean by this is I've seen a lot of people just not try on their dreams and aspirations because they think not trying's cool and they want to be nonchalant. And some of these people think like this because they look up to people like Carti or maybe Future, and they're like, damn, these people are so cool and they don't even have to try that hard. However, a lot of people like this mistake being effortless with not trying. And maybe they're similar in some ways. However, people only find being effortless cool if you're effortlessly doing something that they already perceive as cool. Like, no one's gonna think you're cool for effortlessly throwing your life away and doom scrolling Instagram reels, right? No one's gonna find you cool for effortlessly being a bum. And to wrap that up, if you want to do something in life, please go after it rather than being nonchalant to look cool. Because on a real note, if you have a dream, follow it, because I've heard the regrets of many people, and more often than not, the regrets stem not from action but from inaction. And I know many people who have pushed their dreams off to tomorrow 1,000 times, but in reality, there will be a day when you don't have a tomorrow. Because as the wise Kanye once said, the only thing certain is death. So basically, life is like a game, so you have to play the game the way you want to play.